All right. Apologies. We are a couple minutes late tonight. It is 7:05, and I would like to call the regular meeting to start with roll call vote, or with roll call. Sorry.
Councilmember Alves,
Here.
Councilmember Huff, Councilmember Taylor,
Present.
Vice Mayor Haskell,
Here.
Mayor Warnikoff.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to observe a moment of silence and remembrance and honor of the lives lost 23 years ago on 9/11. So if you will all join me in a few moments of silence and reflection. Thank you. One other note that I'd like to make at the start of the meeting is that Sharif is out ill today. And so tonight we have our Assistant Town Manager, Corey Stoker, representing staff. Thank you so much for being here. And also we will be pulling item 6A from the agenda. And with that, we can move on to item number 2, which is presentations and proclamations, which we do not have any. Next, we will go on to share that there is no, well, Catherine, do you want to do the portion about the closed session?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council, the council did meet in closed session at earlier tonight, a special meeting at 5 p.m. There is nothing to report out.
Thank you, Catherine. So next, on behalf of town management, Corey, I believe you have a couple of comments for the town manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Warnikoff. Just one quick comment. We want to thank the community for their patience at this time with our planning and building department. We understand that there's been a backlog, so we do appreciate the community working with us and being so patient. We do have some good news that we have a consultant working with us. Her name is Yvette. She comes from Shums Coda, a company that provides consultants to assist with planning and building and engineering. And she has done a great job helping us with the backlog, working on our system and getting us caught up. In addition, we have also had a new senior development review technician. His name's Gabriel Rupp, and he has been an absolute all-star helping us get caught up as well, along with Brian Chin, a temporary admin assistant between the three of them, along with Terrence and John Biggs. We've made great progress, and we're again very grateful to the community for their patience.
Thank you.
So Corey, one quick question. Do you have a sense for when people can expect to start getting some responses? Because I think it's great that we're making progress, but I also think if you're on the other side of this, you're like, and when am I going to see my permit, or is somebody going to call me back? Do you have a sense for where we are in that process?
I believe Terrence Grindal, our interim planning and building director, is going to give a quick comment.
We are already returning calls, getting back and issuing permits. So we're working down the list. If individuals want to know the status or or what's happening with their permit, they can contact our staff. We're answering phones and we're being able to give them updates.
Okay, great. So you think like sometime this week, people should be able to get some kind of update on the status of their request?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the town manager report? Thank you, Corey and Terrence. I'd now like to move on to item number 4, which is oral communications. We have a few people here. Any hands raised here in the schoolhouse? No hands raised in the schoolhouse, so I'll move over to Zoom. First hand raised is Rita Comas. Rita?
Hi, thank you for taking my comment. In light of all the meetings that are been canceled lately, there was a PDF that was sent out to the residents concerning the Stanford DEIR response to it. There's on page 4 of that PDF, there's a request if you have comments to make to it, but of course, if you try to send something, it doesn't say what the deadline is. So I just like to say, in light of all of these meetings that have been canceled, whatever that deadline is, if you could please share that with us, and then add 60 to 90 days to that deadline Because with all of the canceled meetings, it could have a set number of days, but then we can't depend on having meetings to participate in this process. So perhaps maybe a little asterisk if it's 60 days, but then there's no meetings, that date is extended. And I speak for myself, but I'm sure there are other people in town. But if others want to look, it's on page 4, about the top where it says to respond. And, if that could be brought to light for the rest of the residents so that they know it's there, that they may not have read it as carefully, I'd appreciate it. And I'm sure others would too. But thank you for meeting tonight.
Thank you, Rita. The next up is a phone number that ends in 7562.
Good evening, Town Council and Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity again. I sent you some additional documentation, comments, and questions at 11 a.m. and I'm surprised that it was not added to the package. I think we have to do it before 1 p.m. There will be a memo read later on, but you need some background. San Mateo County had a grand jury report in 2023, and it's for bike safety. Municipalities are responsible. We have paid Krepka Consultant over $120,000, and we have not seen any improvements besides actually painting the crosswalks, replacing signs, and adding new signs. And then we also paid CCAG, as I included. They had a more comprehensive report, which was presented to us back in February, and I've asked several times to include that on the PPTS website. But that comprehensive report shows you where all the important crosswalks are. And we have all these new projects coming, and we cannot move forward. There is no management. We need action. Secondly, I'm asking Town Council to provide data from the utility companies to ensure that they can supply all the residents and businesses despite the added housing. It's part of the housing element. I have asked for it several times and I have not seen any documents to address that. And third, I'm asking the 3 new Town Council members to ask as much information from the sitting to other council members, because they signed the agreements, they were part of the finance committee, and there's so much unknown. We can only speak to the different committees for 3 minutes, and we cannot all inform them. So please collaborate with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Next hand raised is Christy.
Yes, thank you, Town Council. I have noticed in the past that from Placer County that they have a paragraph to describe their special meetings. In fact, 3 different topics for their special meeting. And I find it interesting that another county or city can do that, but then our city cannot. So rather than just a number and what you're talking about, and we have to look it up, we'd appreciate having a paragraph. I also noticed tonight that May through the current minutes through September, when the residents talk, it only has our name. It does not say what our concerns were. And so to me, this is not a thorough summary of the residents' concerns for the future town councils to look back and read what the residents' concerns were. So I think we could do a better job in transparency in writing a summary of the resident concerns during each meeting. And I'd like you to answer both of those if you could. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. I don't see any other hands raised on Zoom and none in the schoolhouse. So with that, I will close oral communications and move on to agenda item 5, which is the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda? Actually, sorry. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought. On the consent agenda that people would like to pull.
I have a process question, because
Yes.
there's a number of typos in here. And I
Okay.
am more than happy, like they're Vice Mayor Husky, okay?
Yeah.
So I would like to be able to correct those, or Councilmember Haskell versus Vice Mayor. But the more important one is the basis for your recusal, and I'm not sure, right? So should I pull these and just go through them, or should I, like, the substantive one about that?
Yes, how about that?
maybe.
But not the ones that are just typos.
If people are
I'll-
okay with me just forwarding those, it'll be easy.
Yes,
and I
okay, I'm
don't
seeing,
wanna take
I'm
time.
seeing heads nodding.
Okay, so the one that I would pull is, for substance, May 22nd. And it's a question.
Okay, great.
So.
Pulling consent item 5A. Would anybody else like to pull? Okay. Is there a motion to approve 5B through G? Second,
So moved.
roll call.
Councilmember Alves?
Aye.
Councilmember Hefty? Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell?
Aye.
Mayor Warnikoff?
Aye,
Motion carried.
thank you. Judas.
Okay, on May 22nd, this is page 6 of 250. Town Attorney Engberg announced that Mayor Warnikoff and Vice Mayor, probably needs my name, would be recused from any votes regarding this dispute due to their proximity to the properties. So that's certainly true for me.
Yeah.
But you have a different basis. So is it worth
Sure.
correcting?
Yes, can we update that with the correct basis? And Catherine could provide, thank you, Judith, the wording for that for my purpose of recusal. I didn't catch that.
I could state it into the record, I think now, and then you could go ahead
Perfect.
and move on it, move that item. So for Vice Mayor Haskell, that is due to the proximity to the properties. For Mayor Warnikoff, I guess would it be accurate to say for a consistency with past practice?
Pardon me?
Consistency with past practice, you've recused on these items.
Yeah, that's fine.
Out of abundance of caution.
Sure. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah,
I just wanted
okay.
it to be accurate.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve, is that 5A?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Alves?
Aye.
Councilmember Hefty? Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell?
Aye.
Mayor Warnikoff?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Moving on to the regular agenda. Actually, you know what? I'm realizing, guys, I made an error there. I did not take oral communications on the consent agenda. I apologize. Is it too late to do that, or can I open it back up for oral communications?
You can go ahead and open it back up.
Okay, I would like to do that. I don't see any, I'm opening up oral communications on the consent agenda. I don't see any hands raised here in the schoolhouse, nor do I see any hands raised on Zoom. So I will close oral communications on the consent agenda. My apologies. Moving on to the regular agenda, as mentioned, item 6A will be pulled. And so we will be moving on to item 6B, approve and discuss the warrant list as of September 11th. You, Tony, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. The first item is a discussion on the warrant list. There has been a lot of questions and comments raised in the past. And so I'm presenting to council a revised warrant list presentation that includes a little bit more information in regards to checks being issued, the check number sequence, separating out checks that have been voided, checks that are processed as EFT or ACH, and also any checks that are out of cycle or any type that requires a disclosure. Again, it's a part of being a little bit more transparent. I understand since my arrival, this town is starving for financial information. I'm here to clean it up. To say it's like eating soup with a fork. We are attempting to clean up the last 4 fiscal years, or I should say 4 fiscal years, including the current fiscal year, of financial information and starting with the warrant list. I do have to apologize that in preparing this report, I did not include the warrant list for the checks that were cut for today. So they will be included in the warrant list for the next council meeting. We will not be issuing those checks with the exception of, we have about 4 or 5 that are for the town picnic. So we'll want to make sure that those vendors get paid before the town picnic. But the rest of the warrants that were cut for today will not be issued until that warrant list is accepted at the next council meeting. So, but I just wanted to have a discussion on this staff report presentation, if it works, any feedback. But that's my report for the warrant list.
Thank you, Tony. Questions from the council?
No.
Not seeing any question. Mary, did you have a question? No. No questions from the council, so I will open this item up for oral communications. No hands raised in the schoolhouse. I do see a couple hands here on Zoom. The first one is Karen Askey. Karen?
Hi, thank you. And thanks, Tony, for putting this together and sharing more information with us. Would it be possible to better understand the Bank of America monthly statement? Every month, you know, we get a statement somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000, and all it says is monthly statement. And I'm curious just to know what that entails. So I'm just wondering if that's something we could do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
I can respond to that. That's our credit card purchases that we have every month. Oh, it's for supplies or any type of, but it's the use of the town credit card.
Thank you, Tony. Next hand raised is phone number that ends in 7562.
Good evening. This is in regards to my previous comments. So on the warrant list, again, we have consulting fees for Krupka, traffic improvements. We have asked several times for over a year and a half now to see if he can add some details or at least send a presentation to BBCS. We have not seen that. And also, I hope that town council knows what these agreements are with CCAG. $15,000, and what is it? There's so many other joint agreements, and I think it's very important that you understand everything and that the finance director understands how much is spent as well. Thank you.
Thank you. One additional hands raised, Betsy M.
Thank you for acknowledging my comment. I wanted essentially to reiterate, sorry for the redundancy, but really to thank our wonderful new town finance manager. It's just been a pleasure to see how far you've been willing to go in such a short period of time. So thank you for unleashing all of your light on our finances, such as you have so far. I have tremendous faith in our future. Now that I have seen the beginnings of what really has been an impressive amount of information, which we did not have before. And so it gives me a lot of reason to hope. Sorry for not being more prepared in my remarks. I like to be specific. I'm specifically very happy with everything I see. Keep up the good work. I know you will.
Thank you very much, Betsy. I do not see any other hands raised on Zoom or in the schoolhouse, so I will close oral communications on this subject and bring it back to the council for discussion. Just item of note, this is a recommendation to discuss the presentation of the information and then to separately just review and accept the warrant lists for month ended August 31st. So any discussion on, let's just maybe take one at a time. Discussion of just the presentation of this information, which my understanding, Tony, this is going to be your format going forward.
Yes.
Any?
True thanks for being so attentive to our town. We do like a lot of information, and I think this is a great step, and I have a feeling that this will be a great starting point, and hopefully it gives people what they want. But thank you so much for all the work that obviously went into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for cleaning this up. We surely have a lot of work to do to get our finances reported properly. So I'm glad to see that the work is moving forward.
Thank you.
My hope is that it isn't too burdensome and that we've got a format that works for everybody, for you as well as for the town.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, we talk fairly regularly, so yeah, thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Ditto all the way around. I hope you feel the appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And so I'm assuming we are also accepting item number 2, the warrant list through the end of the month. There's no vote on this, but
I will move to that effect.
Second.
I don't think we have a vote on this. We're just accepting it.
Yes, this would be a vote, because I
Oh,
think
it is a
typically
vote.
this would have gone on the consent
Yeah.
agenda,
I
and
see.
so we brought
I
it to
see.
the
You're
regular
right.
agenda
Okay.
for a
Thank you.
vote. Thank you.
And just to be clear, this will be on the consent agenda going forward, right?
Yes.
Again, okay.
Thank you for
And
clarifying that.
it's subject to you just wrapping those final checks for today into the next one. Is that right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will, they'll be in the disclosure
Super.
section for the
Okay.
next warrant.
All right. Did we have a
We have a motion in a second.
motion? Roll call. Thank you.
Al?
Aye.
Councilmember Husty? Aye. Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6C, also Tony, agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is our audited financial statements for fiscal year 2020-21. This is about 4 years overdue. But the auditors have given us a unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which means the numbers materially reflect the financial position of the town. But there were some internal controls issues that they have identified that are not to be surprising considering the size of the staff and the turnover of the staff at that time. We are in the process of correcting those internal control errors. And as I stated in my previous presentation, we are in the process of cleaning up the last 3 fiscal years and also getting ready for the 21-22 audit. And if you saw my staff report, the calendar is to have the 21-20 or the 22 audit completed and presented to council by January. And then have the 23 audit in February. I'm sorry, the the 22 audit by December, the 23 audit by February, the 24 audit by May 2025, and the 24-25, which is the current year audit, by September 2025. So we are attempting to complete 4 audited financial statements within 12 months. That is unheard of. It is very aggressive. Staff is on board. They really want to do good work. They take a lot of pride in the work that they do. It's good staff, no green, but I can mold them. In addressing there's only one issue with this, the MD&A was I sent the wrong version to the auditors, and they were just looking at the numbers. They didn't want to get into the text, and they brought it back. I was looking at the numbers. I didn't see the text and realized that it was the wrong. I have sent a revised MD&A. The auditors actually returned it this afternoon. So we'll be taking this to the Finance Committee for their review. But the numbers are sound, the numbers are solid. So I'm still asking you to accept the financials for tonight, with just the caveat of we'll be revising the MD&A. It's just a couple of paragraphs. And then the Finance Committee will do their review, but I'm asking council to accept the report as is right now with the caveat that we'll be updating the MD&A.
Thank you, Tony. Questions from the council?
My only question is, can you, at a 30,000-foot level, tell us what the difference would be with the MD&A, the general nature of the change?
It was more just style, and there were some sentences just didn't make sense. And it was actually the previous years, and it was a draft version, and it was just the wrong version that was sent, so.
Yeah, oh, I'm not questioning the background. I just want to make sure I know what to
There's going to
expect.
be
when we-
no changes to the numbers. It's
Okay,
just a couple of
perfect.
paragraphs of some
Okay.
budgetary highlights.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
2 questions. So when will we see, will we bring that back through a consent agenda, just so it gets?
We can.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
we
would
have-
be good. Just,
Finance Committee does their review.
yeah, that'd be perfect. And then on the supplemental, you were saying that, obviously 4 years ago, we had small staff, et cetera. Presumably, in the old audits we're trying to do, you're going to continue to get these saying you needed to fix this and this and that
Yes,
because it's all passed.
yes, you will see the repeat findings for 22, 23, or 21, 22, 22, 23. And 23, 24, you'll start to see the corrections because
Right, that's my question. Yeah, when do we think we'll get a clean or relatively clean report? Is it?
be for probably the 23, 24 audit, they will show the improvements, but it's
Okay.
not going to be, the significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And then they're going to acknowledge the improvements that we've made so
Right.
far. And then the 24, 25 should be clean.
Great, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? No. Okay, with that, I will open this item up for oral communications. No hands raised in the schoolhouse. 1 on Zoom. Rita Comas.
Hi, thank you for taking my comment. I attended the finance meeting the town finance meeting that was on Monday, and it seemed that based on the report, there were other items in that audit report that needed to be updated before it was finalized and ready to be signed. And, I really ask, after waiting all these years, to please, for the town council not to approve it, to be moved on without a finished document. We've waited this long. Please do not move this document forward until it is properly done. And my other question is, have the finances been finalized for the other years? Do we have the information that the auditors can then do those other years that are missing, but have those year ends been finalized yet? So I really hope that we do not move this document forward until everything has been updated and everyone has a chance to read it. I believe at the finance meeting, they had only received the document, the incomplete document, that morning when it was posted on the PV.net. And I hope that it can be finalized, version can be posted in a more timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Christy.
Yeah, just a couple questions that for clarification. There were some deficiencies in our process, and I was wondering if you could describe those deficiencies because I want to understand it. And number two, you mentioned staff changes at that time, and that's the reason for the late audit. If you could describe exactly what staff changes, since we've had so many, were occurring at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Of course.
I do not see any other hands raised. So I'm going to close oral communications on this subject and bring it back to the council for discussion. Any council members interested in discussion points?
I just had one small one. Tony, does it make sense to bring this back potentially as a consent agenda item when the MDNA is like, so it really truly is like the done deal? I mean, is there, I mean,
There's
Is-
going to be no change to the number.
I got, sorry, exactly. That's why I would be comfortable with going through the consent agenda, but at least we'd be approving something that was the complete. So my question to you really is, does it really make a difference between like now and 2 weeks from now? Like,
Other than just to complete the process.
right. So, because I would be comfortable if we just included the whole thing in the consent agenda for the next meeting. That way it went through, and just because it's been kind of a rocky road, I think then the public can feel like, okay, you know, the council approved the final deal.
Okay.
Even though I completely hear, and I get it, that it's not going to make a material difference one way or another. I mean, that part's clear. And you guys have done a great job of getting it closed out and continuing to work to get all these other ones closed out. So thank you for that. But I guess that's my question to you is, if it doesn't make a material difference to you to get it done, I think it's just a small gesture to the public that we're going to start getting our ship on a perfectly level keel, if you will.
I will defer to council.
Okay.
How do you, comments on, any comments, including on Jeff's, or I'm sorry, Craig's feedback?
I mean, I'd be comfortable approving tonight, but if you feel strongly about just making those corrections in the, I mean, I'd be listening to the rest of the council on that.
I would agree with Craig, although I really want you to make sure you realize how much we appreciate that we got it done, okay? And that we note that this was the day, all the numbers were right. But I think having it on the consent agenda would be, the next meeting would be nice.
I agree, and I have the same sentiment, which is it's been a rocky road, and that's why I would just bring it back so we can see the final language. But from my perspective, this is wonderful, and to have this like 99.9% there, and I don't want bringing it back to be anything other than we're being cautious because it's been a rocky road on our end. I mean, the town's end, nothing to do with you and your heroic efforts and your staff's heroic efforts and future heroic efforts in the future. Thanks for that. But I would, for this one, bring it back through the consent.
So I would agree with Jeff, because the numbers aren't changing and it's just a couple paragraphs, but it doesn't really matter because we're in the minority. So it looks like we are bringing it back. I just wanted to share that I would have been comfortable with that. So we don't need a vote because of that.
I'd say that direction is clear and no action needed tonight on this item, and we understand the direction to bring it back at the next meeting.
Crystal clear.
Thank you again so much. Moving on to item 60. That is Judith and Mary.
Let's see. Well, I am reporting out the final report on the post-adoption plan outreach that Judith and I have been doing since April or before. Basically, I did speak more broadly. It's been a real honor to do this and to really look at all the land and the different uses for land throughout our community and how we could envision progress with our housing element in ways that were fit with our town. So we reached out to, I would say, we reached out to more than 40 contacts. We went with a series of questions, 12 questions that we were looking at: size, location, environmental impact, aesthetics, rural character, etc. And we evaluated and found what we thought were 25 reasonable locations. That was, let's see if I can make this work. Nope. It was very interesting. We got a lot of good things, and I think we have enough information to be able to push this forward. As you can see from our presentation, we ended up, because of the confidential nature of what we were working on, we ended up just giving you ideas of number of parcels and areas, as well as size. And hopefully we can turn this over to the ad hoc committee that we're going to be talking about later as fuel for their endeavor. Any thoughts, Judith?
Yeah, there's some implied follow-up because to do the handoff effectively, we clearly would need to, one, circle back with all of the parcel owners that we've characterized and say, are you comfortable engaging and having this become more of a public discussion, at least with the ad hoc committee, and make sure that that's something they're prepared to do. So I think we can do that as long as we have a sight of when the ad hoc committee is going to be formed and start putting that in place. And we would have to work with the ad hoc committee for a bit to make sure that they have accurate information transfer at a more detailed level than this for those people willing to move forward. So, and the focus was on potential sites to use in the Sunrise provision as alternatives to building at Dorothy Ford Park and open space. But there may be some sites in here that can just be kept in mind as good opportunities if other things fall out of the RENA numbers that we've got where the sites don't move forward. I think it's, prudent to let the ad hoc committee evaluate that as a backup list or maybe just, propose it back as a more general piece of the housing efforts in town to consider. But the main focus was the Sunrise provision.
Thank you. Questions from Jeff or Craig?
Yeah, so one question I had, the 5 or, greater than 5 or less, what I couldn't get a sense there from was on the sort of 5 or less, how many of those would Ford Field, could be replacements for Ford Field? Because at some point, I mean, if it's 1 acre, it might be useful from a, moderate housing, but it wouldn't solve we need, 50 units kind of thing. So,
Right.
so how do I, when I look at these,
Yeah.
like, are all of these, like there's 26 possible parcels
Right.
here. Were all of them potentially replacements, or can you give me a rough sense?
Yeah, so for example, some people did speak on smaller parcels about wanting to build workers' housing, and they have unique circumstances, like they probably can't build 50 as we would want, but for their number. And if they were willing to do certain types of funding, that could be a piece of an affordable construct. So maybe it's 7 here or 10 here. I don't know. And that's for the ad hoc committee to start putting flesh around.
Right.
But that was the thinking of, there's not going to be that many sites that are easily substitutable. There are some. But I didn't want to preclude the combination of different sites for people who might have reasons they might want to fund more affordable housing.
Yeah, so I think the question I was asking, is, of the 26, can you give me a rough sense of how many could be a direct substitution? And I totally take your point that some of these other smaller ones could be valuable as well. But I mean, is it half or a third or 10%? I mean,
So what are you asking for?
I'm looking for a direct, like, it could replace Ford Field, like one parcel could replace Ford Field. One building site.
I'm honestly, I'm not too comfortable saying that. I think there are a couple that would be more easy, just pick up that plan and put it down here type of, but the reason that we went so broad is because it's going to be hard in this town, right?
Yeah, no,
With all the challenges.
yeah,
So
yep. No, thank you.
No questions from
The only question I had, I have some comments, but the only question I had is, I was trying to figure out what was different in this report from your report on 619.
yeah, we had a couple sites come off, a couple come in. So the numbers are pretty similar. There's like one.
Just
a
this
difference in
table is the
one.
only thing that changed? Just a
Yeah,
couple?
just
Okay.
that. The rest, the other things are attached just for easy handoff to
Mhm.
the ad hoc committee. We didn't want to lose them because
Mhm.
from my perspective, it's just too hard to go back and piece out what date this chart was available versus that.
Okay. I will bring this out to oral communications. Are there no hands raised here in the schoolhouse? Christy, is that a new hand or it looked like it was up before? Oh, no comments from, but we do have one hand raised, phone number ending in 7562.
I just want to thank Vice Mayor Haskell and Councilmember Hefty for providing this. I know it has been a lot of work and I really compliment you. Thank you for doing this for our town. Thank you.
Thank you. No additional hands raised, so I will close oral communications and bring it back for discussion.
I just want to thank Councilmember Hufty and Vice Mayor Haskell for doing this outreach and, coming up with a starting point for when the ad hoc committee goes forward. Thank you.
Ditto.
It was fun.
Ditto, but I also just, you guys, one of my concerns broadly, about all of our housing element processes is really continuing to look at the areas while we're working on this that we're also falling behind, and reflecting back at the meeting we had back on April 10th, where we discussed the annual report from HCD. There's a long list of things, particularly around ADUs, that we are not getting to. And for instance, I think we only have less than 10 ADUs built in the first 18 months with a goal of 102. And that 50% of that is our low and very low income. And so I just don't want to lose sight as we're working on this, which of course I support, of, the other work that's very important that we get done alongside of this. So that's my only comment.
And Sarah, just so we're clear, what additional, you think there's additional outreach you're looking for with the ADUs, or what did you, roughly kind of what did you have in mind?
No, this comment, and I don't want to bleed too far off of the agenda item. So I want to be careful of that. So Catherine, let me know if I am. I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of focus on certain threads related to the housing element. And I'm concerned that other threads are not highlighted. And we have a list of things that we've said that we'd be doing by a variety of timelines. Back in April, we said you guys had requested that we get quarterly updates on progress for that stuff, which, you know, we've had a lot going on, so it hasn't happened. And so I'm just raising awareness about those kind of things that are not getting as much attention. And I'm very concerned, frankly, that, you know, we're going to be coming around to another audit from HCD, and we will not have met those goals. And a lot of them are around ADUs. And that's a huge portion of our low and very low income. So that's all.
And maybe the next step is to get an approved plan.
I don't think we need an approved plan to make progress on things that,
But I'm saying
Yeah.
HCD owes us an approval for a report.
regardless, we're going to need to show progress. Those two things are not,
They're not mutually
they're
exclusive.
not going to be, yeah. So,
Getting our planning department back
yes.
functioning, yes.
So just to be clear, that was not the subcommittee's purview, okay?
I wasn't suggesting it was.
Yeah, no, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, absolutely not. All right.
There is a suggested action on the agenda for this item, which is to
Oh, I'm sorry
receive,
if I missed that.
to receive the report.
So we will, is there a motion to receive the report? I thought we just accepted reports. I'm sorry.
Except
The
the word two,
language-
it's just the language in the agenda. Except,
So I thought typically it was accept when we had something to vote on. And
yeah.
receive was just hearing it. So let me know.
the staff had a question on this too, to the subcommittee, and so we just posed this action. I don't, you know, action isn't legally required. So I guess I would maybe defer to the subcommittee whether there's an action requested here.
Well, does it hurt for us just to have a motion to receive it? I mean, just get it.
Sure.
So moved.
Fine.
I'll
I would-
second.
All right, roll call.
I want to wrap it up, so I would like it received.
Aye.
Councilmember Hufty?
Turn
Councilmember
on
Taylor?
your mic.
Councilmember
I
Taylor?
approve, I receive.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell?
Aye.
Mayor Warnikoff?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you very, yeah. Moving on to item number 6E. I don't know who's going to be presented, Judith or Craig.
I can get started. We can tag team. Yeah, basically, we want to get approval from the council to start to form and the ad hoc committee, form a subcommittee to do some interviews and then get the ad hoc committee appointed ideally by the end of the month, so that they can start the important next steps of pursuing the information Mary and I just had received by the council, and then looking at drilling down to the next level so that we know where we stand in a more concrete manner. So items that we can discuss and we would welcome input from you all on our, you know, what's the size of this ad hoc committee, and for the residents, is that the right number? The thought process here for this was there were 13 members of the original ad hoc committee, but the scale of this should be much more focused, and you know, smaller is probably more responsive, so that they could, there's just less time and planning to get together ideally. But this is a proposal that if you have comments, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. And the idea is to get things started as soon as possible. So if you appoint a subcommittee to start interviewing and coming up with a proposal of the individuals who would then be brought forward to council to be appointed, we would like to do that interview. And then we'd have to work with staff to make sure that the process is announced and staged such that we issue an announcement that we're looking for X number of volunteers as town residents, and have a schedule that gets us to a preliminary list for the council to look at by the end of the month. Craig, anything?
No, again, I think we were looking for just a slightly smaller body to make it a little more nimble.
Questions?
Are you proposing that the two of you maybe do the interviews and then one of you, or one of the three of you, I guess, I assume it's gonna be one of the three of you, but were you thinking that like two of you would do interviews and then one of you would be the representative of the council?
That would probably make sense. We came in with open minds, speaking from my perspective.
Makes the most sense to me as well.
You're not signing up for it, Jeff?
Out of here.
I don't think it's in anyone's
It's
best
okay.
interest.
Well, I mean, you could do the interview.
What's that?
You don't want to sign up for the council member slot, but you could help with the interviews if you wanted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but,
We're open.
Yeah. Definitely flexible.
So my only, oh, Mary, I'm sorry. Questions?
I think it's been a very interesting process putting this together and seeing, it'll be interesting for me to see how it plays out with the work we did before. And also, it is interesting, the question of whether ADUs have anything to do with this at all, which is, was brought up earlier. Is that something that's going to be covered or not? I think it's well presented, and I think, will there be a staff person that attends these meetings? And will it be a Brown Act? Will it be a Brown Act committee?
We were anticipating Brown Act, and we'd have to work out with staff what support makes sense. But we were assuming the ad hoc committee would need it.
Any other questions, Mary? My only questions of just was kind of looking at the calendar and figuring out when this could come back. I'm assuming you guys want to post the opportunity or job description, volunteer job description for isn't it 2 weeks? Is there? I think it is.
Okay.
Our typical standard is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to schedule the interviews. So looking at the calendar, I don't think you'll be able to hit the end of the month. So maybe what, I don't want to,
First October meeting?
Yeah, that's the
depending?
9th.
Yeah.
and so that would bring forward the list then.
Yeah.
And the schedule for the start of the process, or just the,
What would you
I
have in
just
mind?
I was just wondering.
An outline? Yeah, I think we would want to put the outside date, and then I don't know how granular we should be getting on how often and when the meetings are. I don't think that's necessary, but you know, the start and the end, and let the committee work backward to articulate a process.
Okay. And then I guess my only other question is, I know there's sensitivity about the previous agenda item sharing information, but I assume once the ad hoc committee knows, it's public.
Yeah, I would,
information.
yeah,
Okay.
and people have to be prepared for that to happen, and so Mary and I have homework.
Okay.
Agreed.
That is it for my questions. Moving it to oral communications, I don't see anything. Any hands raised here in the schoolhouse? Looking on Zoom, just giving it a minute. No hands raised on Zoom, so I will bring it back for discussion. Is there any discussion?
No, this all makes sense to me.
The numbers make sense?
But yeah, I would definitely, yeah, keep it small.
Okay.
Yeah, and an odd number is good because it makes the form a little easier when it comes to that. But, No, this does make sense. Originally I was thinking, did you want two council members on it? But actually, no, I think one from each council member in each commission is actually, is fine. So, in the interest of being smaller. Yes. So I guess the question would, well, I will let others comment. I guess the questions would be who is the subcommittee and who is the council member. But
Yeah, that's my question.
Mary, do you have any discussion on this or?
I'm interested to see how it plays out. The who's and hows, I obviously would be willing to do it. But I don't know who's going to do which of the three different roles. Maybe
Did you
can
want to,
clarify that.
sorry, did you want to select the council member tonight or was that something? Yeah,
No,
okay,
I
you're
don't-
coming
I
back
don't
with
see
that.
the need
on
for
the
that.
9th. Okay,
But we probably should either continue with the subcommittee
Yeah.
doing the interviews or select a new subcommittee.
That's right.
Yeah.
That does need to be done tonight.
okay. Do you guys want to chime in on your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is I'm going to be gone from the 25th through the 14th. So I think in trying to get stuff done, I would suggest I was not on that subcommittee.
Okay. I'm happy to continue. I mean, I have a lot of the background on the subcommittee.
Oh,
So do you want to
Does that
join
mean I
me?
get to be it? Okay,
Are you okay with that?
yeah. Okay.
That makes sense to me
Keep
too.
morphing, keep
Yeah.
morphing. All right.
Thank you.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. In terms of discussion, I was trying to think, Jeff, back when we did this in 2021 and some of the hiccups, and there was interest in, representation from different areas within town, different demographics within town. Jeff and I brought forward a list and it didn't have that balance based on the point of view from some council members. And
Yes.
so we did have to modify it in that meeting. So just kind of sharing that feedback from that process.
Yeah, trying to,
And we'll be bringing that forward in the first meeting in October.
Yeah. A list, the proposed list. And, we have to think this through because frankly, it's a different task. And you could have geographic diversity, but also people with training and evaluating sites, which
Mhm.
is this is not an easy task.
yeah.
So we have to think about who applies. First step is who applies. Second is what are the qualifications that are presented? And then, making sure people are willing to get into that level of detail and know that that's part of the task. And then beyond that, some diversity of,
Yeah.
abode, location, may make a lot of sense. So if people want to give guidance, feel free. I don't think we're going to be, closed in how we think about it. So feel free to give us any feedback that you might offer, but that it's a different task is my main point.
Agreed, yeah. I mean, don't put 5 neighbors on it.
Yeah,
Just
exactly,
the obvious stuff. I don't,
exactly.
there's no hard and fast rule there, but yeah, we were trying to be sensitive to diversity of
Of course,
locations,
yeah.
viewpoints. I mean, the
Yep.
housing element was a very different task than this, I agree. So, I don't have any specifics, it's just that
Yeah,
the mayor's point is. well
that makes
taken.
sense.
Yeah, just striving for balance is helpful.
Mhm.
And the only other thing I would add is you might think about recusals.
Yep.
I mean,
Mhm.
because you kind of know where the areas are and you guys, as the subcommittee, actually know where the properties are
Yeah.
specifically.
That's a
So
fair point.
maybe
Yeah.
thinking through, like, let's not pick somebody who's going to end up being recused throughout the entire process.
Yep.
That would
Yep.
be helpful.
Thank you.
Excellent point.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We are directing this one, so a lot of new verbs
Directing the
tonight.
appointment.
Is this a vote
Subcommittee.
to direct this?
So this is one where, staff did check with the subcommittee to see what the proper action would be.
Okay,
And yeah, my understanding is that you all are directing the formation of the committee. Of course, this is going to come back to you.
yes.
But
Directing the formation of the committee
Appointing a
and
subcommittee.
appointing the continuation, or is this a new can we say a continuation? No,
I think it's a new subcommittee.
it's a brand new
It's a new
subcommittee.
subcommittee.
Okay,
Subcommittee to
Creating a-
appoint the ad hoc committee. or something.
okay. A subcommittee just for that task of
interviewing.
appointing,
Propose.
proposing appointments to the committee. Okay,
Two to interview.
Who are doing the?
No,
committee, though?
you wouldn't.
you are.
No,
It's,
You're on this piece of paper.
Yeah, I know,
see you
but-
are the-
but but he's not available for
Gonna
the
be-
interviews.
I'm not gonna be in town. So you're gonna be part of the interviewing committee, find the 4 residents.
Okay, but you are, oh, I see.
No,
you're
no, no,
not-
but this is different.
Different.
This is,
That's
we,
fine.
this is
Sorry,
our
but I
report.
know-
This
just
is
a-
the post-adoption subject. I'm still on that. May never get off that, but
I
this
see,
is a
you are
sub,
still voted on the
Yes.
post-adoption.
right,
plan.
but this is a subcommittee to find people.
Adoption plan commit.
You're just gonna, this is, the 2 of you are gonna interview people. So you're gonna find us 4 residents.
All right.
Cool.
So
Do
is,
you need a motion? for this
yes, we need a
subcommittee?
motion. Does anybody want to, looks, oh, go ahead.
And say so moved.
Are we clear?
Right,
what
I
the-
believe the motion is to direct the formation of the ad hoc evaluation committee and appoint a subcommittee of Councilmember Hefty and Vice Mayor Haskell to the subcommittee.
The subcommittee to appoint or to propose,
Propose.
to
yeah, we're
propose
proposing,
appoint,
They're gonna
yes,
bring back to the
yes,
council
yep, yep.
candidates that we're gonna vote on.
Yep, sounds good.
And that includes selecting a commissioner from each of the 2 commissions.
I would
assume
hope
it's
that
the
they
whole
would,
thi-
yeah,
whole
have that
list.
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just-
just so,
However you
I
want.
mean, I'm hoping what comes back to the meeting is
Is the full.
this,
slate.
List.
that the council can say, this is gonna be the committee that's gonna go look at the property.
Yes.
Yes, in its entirety.
So,
yeah.
just a point of information, can we foresee that this committee will be meeting in October, the end of October? At all?
We don't need to sort that out now.
Why are you asking?
I'm just wondering whether it's. how
That
long
would be
this is gonna
ideal
dragged out.
to get them off and running, but they need to have a meaningful download from us
Yeah.
of the report. So I think we can get them started by the end of October,
That's what I thought.
but we have to have staff aligned with the right support and making sure they articulate what wouldn't work for them. Okay? In terms of
All right,
meeting.
I think we have a motion on the floor.
I will second.
Councilmember Alt,
Aye.
Councilmember Hefty,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell,
Aye.
Mayor Warnikoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 7, which is a colleagues memo for the Skyline Boulevard shoulder improvement.
That must be mine.
I just wanted to make a comment that typically as we had approved before, the council doesn't take action on colleagues memos. Rather, if follow-up action is requested, and if the majority of council members are in favor, the town manager will prepare a staff report and place an item on the future council agenda for consideration and action. However, given the scope of this is narrow, I'm suggesting that we're able to make an exception and take action on this tonight. But I wanted to just
Well, we should do
make
that again.
sure that people knew I just don't want to be making exceptions to the process that we had just agreed to, but this is very narrow in scope. So
Yeah, and
I wanted to share that.
And all we're doing is bringing a proposal back. We're not actually, you're not approving anything tonight other than allowing us to bring a proposal back.
Well,
Like
is
that's-
that
that's-
totally true that?
Well, that's all, I mean, the
What is it
subcommittee will
recommended?
bring back a proposal for full council approval at a later date.
Yeah,
That's
we're
the
approving-
recommended.
we're-
Okay,
We're
then,
asking to create a subcommittee.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to do that within the scope of what you just finished saying?
yes,
If we decide that this is a variation from the colleagues memo process that was previously agreed, and I think it makes sense myself, but I'm getting ahead.
okay. So why don't you guys,
Take it away.
please?
Okay, so this came out of bicycle, pedestrian and safety committees, because I was taken with the guy's presentation. It's something near and dear to my heart. Highway 35, I remember changing my first flat tire on the shoulder of Skyline Boulevard in college. And there is no shoulder, and it's clearly a huge source of mortality and morbidity and within our town. So he came forward with a proposal to he needed basically a place to promote the getting of this done. Basically, he's looking for a planning department or an engineering department, actually, in this case, that would support him in the long run, but in the short run, he's just looking for letters to go to the Caltrans. So we're just gonna, the proposal was that Craig and I would look at this and maybe reach out to him, talk to him again, find out what he wants. We have this letter that the Bicycle Pedestrian and Traffic Committee wrote for the council, which is in your package. And I hope, I'm looking. Anyway, it may not have made it. Did it make it into the? It's there?
It's the next.
Looking at a letter.
Okay, which we thought needed work. And so we were gonna work on the letter with the guys who are interested in funding it. And also with the, just checking in with our public works and our engineer, as well as the staff, to see what is required or what would be required of us.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is getting a little sideways in the sense that we were going to work with this guy. He's really looking for some governmental backing with Caltrans. I mean, at the end of the day. So I think what we need to do is we need to sit down, understand what his proposal is and what are adding some of our weight to it. I don't think we're going to add a lot of engineering. Caltrans is going to do the engineering. Like they're not going to let us engineer Highway 35. That's just not going to happen. So, so just to be clear, what we would bring back to the council would be, here's what this guy's looking for. Here's the proposal of what we think we should potentially send on to Caltrans. And he has a number of contacts at Caltrans he would like us to communicate with, but that would be up to the full council to make that decision at a later date. So I think the first thing is just to understand, what he wants. And I think the purpose of the colleagues memo was, is the council, at least in principle, willing to, look at improving Highway 35 bicycle safety and putting our name behind it. And that's all. I mean, would we consider it? Not, are we going to do it?
Thank you. Questions from the council?
Who is this person? I see T. Selker. I'm just curious who this is and what.
So Ted Selker, this is, it's part of his mission in life, apparently. So, but he thinks he has some private funds arranged. And so that's the important piece is that, he, like I said, he's got an idea. He's been pushing this along. He brought it to BPTS a couple of times. They're in favor of it. So BPTS wanted to bring it to the council to see if the council is willing to follow up on this. In the long run, it would be, he's going to come back and make a proposal to Caltrans. So we could say, we potentially support this private funding to make Highway 35 safer, but that would be
He's ultimately looking for something like this letter of support that he can bring with him in a package of other things.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Okay.
And I do have the name of the donor, but I switched my mind. Like so many.
I just wanted to know who was approaching.
Yeah.
And part of my question is part of what you're going to be doing, checking with Catherine on like the legal parameters of what support, if there's any
Yes.
guide rails on what we can and
What
can't
the
do
liability, I
best.
keep thinking about the liability of
Well,
being
well,
involved.
You
not
don't
even-
have to get into
No,
the
no.
details,
So whatever
but checking
proposal,
if-
whatever
yeah.
proposal we'll bring back will come as a staff report, which will get
Okay,
council, Catherine's blessing. Absolutely. Yeah,
checking.
yeah.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
It's a good idea.
All right. Yeah. Moving on to public comment. I don't see any hands raised in the schoolhouse, one hand raised on Zoom. Bay CHI.
Yeah. That's Ted Selker, actually. Sorry that it's got the wrong name. Can you hear me?
Barely.
It's volume's a little low.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Okay. So, yeah, this is, I basically went to Caltran a long time ago, 10 years, and I did get them to write a bike plan, by the way, possibly. I mean, they did it after we had conversations, but prioritizing this, they required getting, letters from cities. And so I got approval and letters from cities, but then they said, well, but we want somebody, to do the, believe it or not, supervision and engineering, and we would oversee it, which I found very strange, but that's what they asked for. So I went back to Palo Alto and they said, we're stretched. But my donor does have the money to pay for any engineering and oversight that is needed, as well as for the entire project.
Thank you. Next hand raised is 7562.
Great. I'm happy that you guys formulated it the correct way and that Mr. Salka was able to speak at this meeting. What we have found as residents and as PPTS members, it's very confusing but ultimately this is CCAG's jurisdiction. And so we have seen, for instance, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. We spend a lot of money contributing to all these agencies. There's the Metropolitan Agency. The PTPS has members who work at CCAG, and whenever they have their own information. So what is fundamental missing is a collaboration. There's a lot of money available, but there's no collaboration, and everybody takes the money for their own departments, and so that doesn't work. So we're looking for a collaborative approach. I know Palo Alto is interested, Menlo Park, Woodside, we're all in it together. And that's why, again, I showed you I attached the documents that you should have received earlier. I don't understand why they're still not on our PPTS website. They should be made available to the public. We need to make sure that our bike lanes are safe. And not only our bike lanes, but we have the safe routes to school. Our kids use it because we have too many speedy cars on our two roads, Portola and Alpine. Nothing gets done. So we need to make progress, and I hope that town council will support us in every angle of this project. So thank you.
Thank you. Next hand raised is Christy. Christy?
It looks like you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I am looking at the CCAG report right now, and I do believe collaboration would be beneficial. Our bike crash severity score is 213, and our max motor vehicle crash severity score is 191. So we know that we're a biking mecca area, and that people from all over Silicon Valley come here to use Portola Road and Alpine Road. And we do know they use Highway 35 as well, and all the roads up to Highway 35. So I think that based on the severity score, there could even be more done than just Highway 35 on this. And I think we should take the severity score seriously and see how we can use this score and try to bring it down in the future. And that means motor vehicle crashes as well as bike. So recently I went to the Roberts and I could barely see looking right and left coming out of the parking lot because there was a large truck that had offloaded a tractor with 4 cars behind it right in front of Roberts in the bike lane. So that means our bikes had to go outside into the road. And this is only one project that's being built next to Roberts, and we have, probably 2 or 3 more projects coming. So we do need to take care of this seriously. And as you know, the other day we had another accident which closed some roads. So I would like to see these CCAG scores taken seriously and looked at by the public, and the public should have them available to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. I do not see any other hands raised, so I will bring this back for council discussion. Is there any discussion? And again, this is just to create a subcommittee. That's the scope.
I see no reason not to do this and to see a report come back.
Mary,
Would you
oh,
see?
this is your item. Sorry.
This is my item, but I could just say, ask a question for your thoughts and wisdom. Would you see it as also reaching out to Woodside and seeing whether they, what their interest is and how we can collaborate with them?
Well, right now, the only thing we're doing, if we're just following what this colleagues memo is for, is just to create the subcommittee.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I say yes. Of course, I think it's a good idea. I think
Yeah.
the community needs.
Yeah, I mean, for all the reasons that the commentators have been talking about it, bicycle safety is important to our community. We are part of a network that's part of a broader region. I think the subcommittee makes a lot of sense and look forward to it coming back and having a fulsome discussion.
Great, agreed. Is there a motion to approve the subcommittee? I'm assuming the subcommittee will be Craig Taylor and Mary Hupty.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Councilmember Husty,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Haskell,
Aye.
Mayor Warnikoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, council subcommittee liaison and regional agency reports. Thank you to those of you who submitted written reports. Are there any oral reports separate from the ones that are written? No, and
So I would just say the finance committee always happens before
Right.
it gets to into this meeting. So they've continued to basically work through ideas for basically managing sort of our deficit and our budget. And I think they've been, really great discussions. And I've had some conversations with Tony afterwards, and he's been pleased as well. I mean, I think that everybody's working in a collaborative fashion. There aren't really any egos in it. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that staff could have said, look, you can do this, but I think it's great that we have citizens that are looking at it. So we've been, that's been the major focus of the last 2 finance committee meetings. And then there is some talk from Tony about transferring some money, given that interest rates are likely to come down and we have money in T-bills, which is likely to be the first thing that's hit with an interest rate drop. So Tony's been basically moving some money around with the fund. So I think that, I think Tony's been doing a great job. And it's been obvious. And I think that the finance committee feels that as well, as I think they feel like they've got a partner that they can work with. And so I think that's been great.
great.
Am I allowed to comment on my conservation committee meeting stuff? Well, I wrote it down, so that we. Okay, so one thing that conservation asked to be brought forward was to reinstate the spring presentations to the town council from all committees. So that the committees can have direct access to the council and the council can hear what the committees are doing. And it would be a great introduction for the new council as well, to have that on the roll forward. That we bring, it's just a 5 minutes, each committee comes in and gives a little presentation, and we get to give comment. That was from them, and I have another couple of things in here that the VPTS, I just wanted you to look at my letter from the BPTS. BPTS is worried about Vision Zero community plan. They would like to do a Vision Zero community plan. It's an access to grants, and there's, because Angela is on the CCAG committee, we have, that evaluates our grants. We have an opportunity to look at these grants, and we have to be a Vision Zero community. It just means that we want to not have any accidents, okay? It doesn't mean that we don't have any accidents. It's that we want not to have accidents. So that's all it means. And then you lay it out and what your needs are, et cetera. So you basically have to fill out a form, and we're hoping that they're hoping that the council will back them on that. That's it. Yeah. And then, of course, I do have this June meeting that I did with, I went to the General Assembly of the Association of Bay Area Governments and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. It was really interesting. It's a really good organization, and it clearly has a lot of resources for our town that we really should be utilizing to help us with our planning and meeting our requirements. So it was an education to me to know it's even there, and I made some good contacts, and I'm happy to follow up on anything that I could help the staff.
Thank you, Mary. Did you have something, Craig?
I just had a quick question. Catherine, are there any issues with the mayor, or not the mayor, the manager committees coming to the council? I mean, it's still okay for them to come and present to the council, right? They're just not appointed by us.
Yeah, I think it's fine for them to come and
Yeah,
present.
good.
They do report to the town manager, so that's.
Right, yeah,
I
exactly. It's
think
not a
that's good
reporting thing,
question.
but they can still come and
Yeah.
chat with us and get, and let us interact a little with them, yeah?
Yeah, I believe that's fine. I mean, they could report to the town manager, the town manager could report to you, but I think by delegation, the town manager would ask them to go ahead and make
So,
that
yeah,
report.
Let's not make it too awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
So and I think the Historic Resources Committee would be a good person to include on that.
Great. Yep.
It's not even a Brown Act to me.
Yep.
It's not even a manager.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Any other comments? All right, I will see if there's public comment on the subcommittee, liaison committee, and regional agency reports. No hands raised here in the schoolhouse. And, oh, sorry, lost track here. You guys see any participants? Sorry. Oh, we
Yeah,
do
there's
have a
one.
couple. First hand raised is 7562 on Zoom. And this is for council subcommittee.
Yes, so I would like to thank Greg and Mary for the good reporting. Again, it's very important. We need collaborative efforts. There's too much money, our taxpayer money, that goes to these departments, and we're not using it. And so I don't understand. I hope that this town council will also reach out to our elected officials, because these are the ones who promote these policies. And so every town is suffering from this because there's no collaboration, and all the money is being, I don't know, we don't know where the money is and how we can get the money. So please help us, coordinate us. I'm hoping Mayor Warnikoff, you're going to put your input in with the town council, with the PV school district. I believe you are the liaison. I have reached out to them several times. PBTS and Trails Committee are trying to work on the safe routes to school. We have not had any success with the superintendent Zarea, because she believes her physical education is enough and does not need any further implementation. But we did have a chance to get a grant through the San Mateo County Education Department. And I hope you will be involved to get grants and money and find solutions. And what this program actually does is they help you in the planning of infrastructure. This is part of the BPTS. It's planning new infrastructures, new ideas. And so hopefully you will be on board and we can, and you will support our initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Next hand raised is Christy.
Thank you. I was unable to go to the Hawthorne recent meeting on the historical house, so I think our mayor is the liaison, and I'd like an update on the 79 acres and the historical house update. And then I don't believe we heard anything about the HCD certification for housing element, and I was wondering if Adrian or Corey could comment on that. Thank you.
Just for clarification, I am the liaison, I was the liaison to the POG, which is a separate entity. I don't see any other hands raised. So I will close oral communications and bring it back to the council for any discussion on liaison reports. Any discussion? All right. Item number 8 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you,